Strategic pinches. I am Rafael Hertzberg, an energy consultant based in São Paulo, Brazil. It is mostly about the decision-making process. The tradition here in Brazil is basically about hearing potential suppliers, what they have to say. The proposed new approach is first discovering what's of interest. The agenda will cover: if you were called by your board, what would you say about energy-related opportunities? What kind of solutions from a technical, financial, and management standpoints would you come up with? And then I will show a few cases. In this proposed board meeting, you would have to come up with physical projects that might be a good fit for that specific case, how you would contract these physical projects, what kind of metrics will you use to calculate potential benefits and costs, what kind of internal rate of returns you will get, what are the associated risks, the identification of them, and the mitigation of these risks. And then finally, crafting solution models, taking all these aspects into consideration. Now about real cases. The first one was in Votorantim, not far away from the São Paulo city. The local manager was complaining about unplanned power interruptions. And so I came up with the idea of connecting this industrial plant at a higher voltage level. And because of that, this idea was accepted, and the new matrix was about 10% of the regular ones. So there was a huge benefit. In Guarulhos, also not too far away from São Paulo, this Canadian training company was complaining also about unplanned power interruptions by the local utility company, but they were not willing to come up with the required investments. So I came with the idea that was accepted to develop a local genset that would be running on a regular basis during the on-peak hours to produce hefty benefit, and these benefits would pay for the emergency power when there was an outage. The third case was 3 hours away from São Paulo by flight in João Pessoa in the state of Paraíba, and these guys were in the chemical industry and they were complaining about the power costs. So I suggested, and they accepted, to migrate to a deregulated power contract, and that was really very cost effective. In Caxias do Sul, about 1,000 miles away from São Paulo, after visiting the local plant, I noticed that they were using a gas heat treatment station, but they had an electric heat treatment station available, and that was not being used. And because of the relative costs, my suggestion was very simple and easy, just replacing the gas heat treatment station by the electric one, and they made a huge savings. This was a very interesting case. A major mobile telephone operator in Brazil was interested in reducing their power costs, and because there were about 500 antennas spread out in the Brazilian country, I came up with the idea of using a special ink to be used on top of these containers, and this special ink included microglass spheres that would reflect the sun, and this would in turn reduce the amount of energy required by the air conditioning system in each antenna. The second case in this slide is about a headquarters in São Paulo, and because of its specific location, I suggested that we change the rate structure from a low voltage overhead one to another one which was available underground, a lot cheaper. Then the third case was a very interesting one because there were two plants, one in Mogi Mirim and another in Valinhos, about 100 miles away from São Paulo. And this Mogi Mirim plant was very interested in increasing its voltage level in terms of connection to the local utility company because they wanted to increase the contracted demand. But they were in a very difficult financial situation regarding potential investments. So they were not willing to invest in the project. But when I visited the two plants, I noticed that they had one very large substation and there was a 15 MVA transformer idle. So my simple idea was suggesting that they build another substation for the Mogi Mirim plant, taking an advantage the Valinhos idle transformer. And this was a very interesting suggestion because the transformer costs about 50% of the whole project. And finally, just to give one additional example, a very interesting one in São Paulo. This food industry uses a lot of steam, and I discovered that a very simple volume adjustment would save a lot of money for them because they were adjusting the boiler to produce a lot more steam than what their process demanded. So it was very simple and easy to make a hefty savings. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you need any help, I will be more than glad to help you out.